8 years ago, when Leo confessed his love to me, he said he would love me for the rest of his life. 8 years later, he got my best friend pregnant, transferred my family's assets to his name, and coldly suggested, let's get a divorce, there's only 100,000 left in the bank, and it's all yours. The moment I opened my eyes, I was back to my school days. That year, I was 18, bright and cherished like a fiery sun. Leo was still the charming but impoverished school heartthrob. My friend Faye still played the victim, and Kevin, the secret child from Kevin's family who secretly adored me, had not yet taken his own life because of school bullying. I had another chance to start over. Let's get a divorce, there's only 100,000 left in the bank, and it's all yours. After 8 years of dating and 3 years of marriage, the man I loved most said this to me expressionlessly. Leo and I were high school classmates. He was the attractive poor boy, and I was the spoiled rich girl. I had a crush on him since high school, and on the night of our final exams, under the starry sky, he confessed his feelings to me. Jane, be with me. My heart raced with joy, my face flushed as I looked at him, and naturally, we ended up together. In our 5th year of dating, my father finally agreed to our marriage, saying, Jane, I haven't been in good health these past few years. I'm handing over the company management to both of you, along with the cash flow. Then, earlier this year, my father passed away. Leo became increasingly busy and eventually stopped coming home at night. A month ago, the company my father left us went bankrupt. Leo said that after liquidation, all we had left was 100,000, which he was leaving to me. Sign here, Jane. I stared at Leo's unfamiliar face, unable to imagine that over these past 8 years, he had once doted on me to the envy of others. He would massage me at night, hold me in the mornings, and never leave without a kiss goodbye. But now, his sharply defined face was utterly cold. Is it done, Leo? A familiar voice asked. I saw Faye walk in, my best friend since high school, who had been inseparable from me from the first year until now, had always been single until today. Her belly was slightly swollen, and I gasped, Faye, how could you? She touched her stomach, her face a mix of fear and frailty as she hid behind Leo. Jane, I'm sorry, it's Leo's child. I told him to not rush, but he couldn't wait. I didn't do it on purpose, he just loves me too much, couldn't help but care for me every night, and it just happened because it was so frequent. My heart felt dead as I looked at Leo. Leo frowned, meeting my utterly disappointed gaze. He wasn't happy, there was even a hint of irritation in his expression. He said to Faye, go outside, don't stress the baby. Reluctantly, Faye left, and as she closed the door, she flashed me a victorious smile. I turned to Leo. So, it has come to this. I finally understand that my family didn't go bankrupt. It was you who drained and transferred the assets, right? Leo remained silent. I smiled at him, and as I smiled, I cried. So these 8 years of affection were also a lie. Leo, you never loved me at all. Leo clenched his fists, silent. As I fell backward, Leo tried to catch me, but I pushed him away. His eyes were red as he called out to me, Jane, stop calling me, it makes me sick. I always thought I was the happiest. My mom died early, and it was just my dad and me. He loved me so much, and then, you were there to protect me. It turns out all of this was just a setup. Leo, these 8 years with you have been like a nightmare. If I could do it all over again, I wish you nothing but the worst. You and Faye, both of you despicable people, are doomed to reap what you sow. A sharp pain struck the back of my head, and I gradually lost consciousness. Leo screamed, Jane. Jane, Jane. I slowly opened my eyes to find myself fainting on the lawn, still clutching a cell phone. Through the phone, someone was calling me, a voice both strange and familiar. Jane, where are you? Did you faint again from low blood sugar? Dad's coming to find you. It was my dad's voice, filled with urgency. Dad, my dad had passed away. How could he still be calling me? I sat up, rubbing the sore spot on the back of my head, and noticed I was wearing a school uniform skirt, showing a stretch of pale legs. From a nearby alley, sounds of punching and kicking emerged. Kneel down, beg me, and I might let you go. Kevin, you filthy bastard, do you even deserve to study, to attend our school? Instinctively, I rushed over. What are you doing? Kevin, dressed thinly, his eyes red and fierce, suddenly looked up at me, his eyes swirling with emotion. I looked at his face, remembering someone I had long forgotten. Kevin, the illegitimate son of my dad's best friend uncle, who was rumored to have deceived his mother into marriage. After his mother died in a car accident, he was taken in by Kevin's family. Uncle's wife was ruthless, and eventually, Kevin was tortured to death in his sophomore year of college. Not long after his death, I received an anonymous letter. Inside the envelope was a bank card and a piece of paper with a series of numbers, 130924. After checking, I found out that the account holder was Kevin. And the card contained all the savings of his brief life. So where am I now? Have I returned to the past, lost in thought? Those people dragged me over. Oh, a girl has come, trying to play the hero. They reached out to touch me, but Kevin, as if a switch had been flipped, suddenly burst into rage. Get lost, don't touch her. Then came another round of beating. Last time, I stayed far away and ran off. The last image I saw was him curled up on the ground, being beaten until he was bruised. But this time, he was like a wolf ready to protect its owner. A desperate desire to survive flashed in her eyes. The scene shifted from a one-sided beating to an exchange of blows. He stood in front of me, and in my panic, I yelled loudly, "I'm Jane, very well known at my school. My dad treasures me like the apple of his eye. If you don't believe me, go ask around. Today I'm protecting him. Dare to touch me and see how my dad will deal with you." Indeed. Their expressions changed as they took a good look at me. Suddenly they exclaimed, "Holy crap, it really is Jane." "Kevin, consider yourself lucky today. Someone's got your back." They ran off, leaving chaos all around. Kevin, bruised and battered, said, "You shouldn't have come to save me, Jane. I never thought I'd cry, but realizing I had come back and had the chance to start over, I couldn't help but tear up." Seeing me cry, he stiffened. Typical Jane, always so delicate or not. "I still saved you," I retorted. 10 minutes later, my dad, plump and panting, ran over, with his driver Samuel gasping for breath behind him. "Dad," I exclaimed. My dad looked at me and then at Kevin, who was drenched and injured. "What happened to you two?" Before Kevin could speak, I blurted out, "Dad, someone was bullying me, and he saved me." Kevin looked at me in surprise. Previously, I hadn't been very nice to him, only helping him once. After that, we barely spoke for 2 years because he was quiet, not sociable, and I was afraid of Leo misunderstanding. Now, thinking of the letter I received after his death, I wanted to save him. I had so many questions. Like how he died in his past life and what those numbers meant. I didn't avoid Kevin's gaze and looked up at him. Kevin clenched his fists, his ears turning red. His reaction reminded me of something that had happened before. Once, I saw him fighting with someone who had stolen his stuff, causing him to explode in a confined space, his roar startling everyone. During the scuffle, a pen was tossed out. It was then I realized he was protecting the pen I casually gave him when we first met. The pen landed at my feet. He rushed to pick it up, then slowly looked up and saw me. In that moment, his ferocity and the undeniable disarray he was in were fully exposed before me. Later, the next news I heard of him was of his death. In the car, my dad asked Kevin, "Should I drop you home first?" "No, don't," I interrupted quickly. "He's coming home with us." My dad looked puzzled, and so did Kevin. My dad knew Kevin had a hard life and had thought about bringing his old friend's son home to take care of him, but I had opposed it. I even protested in front of Kevin, accusing him of clinging to my family. My unusual attitude this time surprised both of them, especially Kevin. When we got home, he remained silent, wiping the blood from his face with the back of his hand. I rushed to get a towel for him. "Use this." After my dad left, he stared at me for a while before slowly asking, "Aren't you afraid I'll cling to you with all the help you're giving me now?" "What does it matter if he clings? Could he possibly be more ruthlessly ambitious than Leo? Besides, how bad could someone be if they've known me since junior high and would leave me their only savings after they die?" I had someone arrange for Kevin to stay in the room next to mine, and before going to bed, I intentionally walked past his door. Through the door, I asked him, "Kevin, 130924, what does this mean?" Suddenly, Kevin opened the door. "Jane, why are you helping me?" he asked, his tone dark and profound. I saw in his eyes the hidden troubles of his youth and an indescribable restraint. It was an unspoken affection, mixed with admiration for something precious, and a sense of inferiority. Suddenly, I felt uneasy. I blamed myself for not seeing people clearly over the years, and for not reaching out when he needed me the most. "Jane," Kevin called out again. I snapped back to reality. "Huh. Answer," he said, his gaze intense, like a wolf. Feeling somewhat awkward, I replied, "I'm thanking you for saving me. Besides, you're not doing well in Kevin's family, so you might as well stay here." I couldn't very well say that he would die in 2 years and I was reliving my life to try and save him. could I? Also, lately, some people have been trying to get to me, keeping you by my side to help me fend them off. That'll work, right? Kevin didn't speak. I smiled at him and said, consider it a repayment for me saving you today. His expression faltered at my smile. Standing tall under the light cast shadows on his eyelashes and his breath lightly touched my face as he murmured, The next morning, my dad insisted on driving me to school. Samuel was driving. My dad sat in the passenger seat, and occasionally looked back at me and Kevin, his expression hard to read. I knew what he was thinking. I had changed so much, suddenly accepting Kevin. And my dad was worried about what was influencing me. Quietly, I said, Dad, he can protect me. Oh, okay, he replied, recalling last night's events with a worried look at Kevin. As Kevin got out of the car, he pursed his lips and looked back at my dad. Uncle, don't worry. Feeling that wasn't enough, he added quietly, if anything happens, I'll be in front of her. Finally, my dad sighed deeply. All right then. As I walked into the school with Kevin by my side, many people looked our way. Suddenly, someone rushed up from behind. Jane. Faye jogged up and affectionately took my hand. Why are you coming to class with this person? Faye's tone was guarded. I glanced at her and calmly brushed off her hand. Faye's face immediately changed, looking pitifully at me. Jane, I would never forget how, 8 years later, she hid behind Leo, boasting about how Leo couldn't help pampering her every night, anxious for her to get pregnant. I hissed at her, don't touch me, Jane. Faye looked extremely aggrieved. Kevin noticed my unusual reaction and glanced down at me. He changed positions, walking beside me on my right. He subtly isolated Faye. It allowed me to catch my breath, smoothing over the uncontrollable emotions. I told myself silently, there's no rush. Changing my tone, I suddenly seemed more aggrieved than Faye. Sorry, Faye, I didn't mean to snap at you. I just didn't sleep well last night. And I think what you said earlier was really too much. Faye was immediately taken aback and quickly pretended to look pitiful. She wanted to draw the attention of others, to show off my so-called diva temper. But how could I let her have her way? Dealing with a manipulator requires outmaneuvering them at their own game. I asked her sadly. Kevin is our classmate, and also the son of my dad's good friend. As my desk mate, how could you be so opportunistic? You seem to disdain him so much in your words, Faye. This makes it really hard for me. Faye's expression cracked. She couldn't even maintain her frail smile. Her nose soured, and she looked at me, frustrated, seeing that I had no intention of helping her out. She muttered a hasty sorry and hurried off. After Faye left, I looked up to find Kevin watching me with a questioning look. Why did you say that just now? He suddenly asked me. Jane, is it because you dislike her, or because you want to protect me? Kevin's voice was magnetic, and my heart skipped a beat. Thinking that he would die soon, I hesitated for a moment, took a deep breath, and said, I wanted to protect you. Kevin was slightly stunned and looked away. Liar, Kevin, I'm not lying to you. His instinctive reaction earlier was undeniable. Faye bullied me, he protected me, so when others are biased against him, I must protect him. Moreover, how else to expose Faye's true colors if not by stirring the waters? After the first class, as expected, Faye sneaked out. I quietly followed her, only to find her in a secluded laboratory with Leo. Upon seeing her, Leo asked, Faye. This was my first time seeing her interact privately with Leo. In my memory, Faye was always timid, fragile, and phobic of men, speaking in a gentle and soft voice. Over the past years, she only spoke more to Leo when I was around. Once I suggested she add Leo on WeChat, she refused. Back then, she said, Jane, it's not right since he's your boyfriend. I argued that because she's my best friend, she should add my boyfriend. At that time, she reluctantly, shyly labeled Leo in her phone as Jane's boyfriend in front of me. Now, with no one around, she actively snuggled into Leo's arms, her chest unintentionally brushed against Leo, tenderly cooing at him. 18-year-old Leo, with his tall stature of 188 centimeters and strikingly handsome appearance, exuded a sunny aura. The wind blew his hair, covering his eyes. I thought Leo would embrace Faye, but instead, he stiffened, then pushed her away. Faye was clearly surprised. Leo turned pale, stepped back, and held his forehead. Wait a minute, let me catch my breath. The voice carried through the wind to my ears, inexplicably familiar. Leo from our high school days had a voice that was sunny and fresh, though lacking in gravitas. After settling down and taking over the management of my family's business, Leo had developed a certain authoritative calmness, his tone now brief and impactful. I had been by his side for 8 years, throughout his youth, watching him grow into Boss Leo. I was all too familiar with every little change in him. I was instantly frozen on the spot. This was even more shocking than seeing Faye throw herself into his arms back in high school. Since I was able to come back, what about him? Before I could figure it out, Leo's next move confirmed my suspicions. He looked at the still green Faye and asked, "What time is this, and why are you dressed like that?" His gaze lingered on Faye's flat belly. Embarrassed by his stare, Faye whispered, "Leo, it's just break time. What's wrong with you?" "This outfit, Jane bought it for me. It cost 3,000. Doesn't it look good?" I saw Leo's frown deepen when Faye mentioned me. He held his head, taking a long time to recover, then said, "I see, now I understand." Smiling, he added, "So that's how it is. I understand now." He was about to leave when Faye grabbed him. "Leo, what's wrong with you? Are you sick?" Unfortunately, Leo didn't even look at her but asked anxiously, "Where's Jane?" "Jane," Faye repeated, hurt. "Why do you call her that?" "Leo, listen, we need to act fast on our plan." "Jane, that fool, I don't know what got into her today. She actually snapped at me. Not only did she embarrass me in public, she's also getting close to that loner Kevin. If she ends up with Kevin, you're out of the picture." "Leo, we need to stick to the plan we discussed. You chase after her and then find a way to get her family's money, so both our family's debts can be paid off." Leo appeared contemplative as Faye continued, "We still need money for school later on. Leo, she's an only child. If you win her over, her family's wealth could be ours, which is much better than working in the future. I've mentioned you to her, and she's quite interested in you. You better seize the opportunity to develop a closer relationship with her. She's only 18 now, so naive. We need to capitalize on this opportunity." Leo murmured to himself, "Yes, she's still so naive at this time." As he spoke, his eyes unexpectedly reddened. I couldn't bear to listen anymore. Guessing what was going on was one thing, hearing it was another. My youthful innocence turned out to be what others considered the perfect opportunity for manipulation. Thinking back to those 8 years with Leo, it was all just a nightmare. Angered, I walked away, and at the corner, I ran into Kevin, caught eavesdropping. I greeted him. "What a coincidence." Kevin, with thin lips tightly pressed, responded, "Not really." He pocketed his hands and looked at me, then glanced back at the corner where I had been spying. His gaze drifting off in the distance towards Leo and Faye. His eyes settled on Leo. He saw through my mood swings. He furrowed his brows and said, "Wait for me after class. Let's walk together." Suddenly, I felt secure. When school was over, my driver Samuel came to pick me up. Having been beaten up yesterday, Samuel had arrived early to wait at the school gate. Now, seeing Kevin and me walking out side by side, Samuel's face turned red. Perhaps imagining some romantic drama scene, I quickly said, "Samuel, isn't the handsome guy and pretty girl, the campus belle and beau, a sight for sore eyes?" Samuel coughed violently. He almost choked on my shameless words. As I was about to get in the car, someone called out to me from behind, "Jane." I turned around and saw Leo running towards me with his backpack on, wearing his faded white sneakers. There was a time when him looking at me with such adoration was my favorite thing. Now, regret filled his eyes, but I only felt disgusted. I didn't stop. I stepped straight into our Mercedes. To hell with the poor young man. Deliberately in front of Leo, I called Kevin to come home with me. Leo stood there, treated like air by me but trying to smile at Kevin. His cheeks tensed. "Jane," I tilted my head, pretending to be puzzled. "Classmate, after 5 years of dating and 3 years of marriage, betrayed. When we met again, our young bodies housed mature souls. Did he think I was still the 18-year-old Jane? He must be regretting. Thinking he had a chance to start over in this life, but how could I give him that chance? Not only would I not give it, but I would also make him watch as he loses everything. Without the Jean family, did he think he could still be the successful boss Leo of the future? "Is there something you need?" I asked Leo, clearly indifferent inside, yet feigning ignorance. "Hello, is there something you need?" I repeated. Leo stiffened, his gaze tumultuous. In the prolonged eye contact, my limbs grew cold. A rush of anger surged to my head, full of resentment about to burst from my chest, but I suppressed it forcefully. Just as I was about to explode, a pair of hands pressed down on my shoulders. I suddenly snapped out of that uncontrollable emotion. Kevin looked at me. "Shall we go? Didn't you say we were going home together?" I nodded, giving him a sweet smile. "Right, and you're coming to my room tonight to tutor me." "Tutoring?" He almost lost his composure, awkwardly looking away. "Yep." I nodded, unexpectedly. Kevin didn't call me out but instead reached out and ruffled my hair, and I just let him do it. Who was close and who was distant was crystal clear. Leo froze in place. I said goodbye to him as if he were just another classmate. Seeing my impatience, Samuel immediately started the car, driving off until Leo's figure turned into a tiny speck in the rearview mirror, looking a bit pitiful. Kevin remained silent all the way. That evening, I stayed in my room until I noticed Kevin had been sitting in the second-floor living room for a long time. It seemed he was waiting for me. Hearing me open the door, he stood up. As I approached him, I realized just how tall he was, taller even than Leo, despite being somewhat thin. His features were striking and well-defined, although his bangs were too long, covering his eyes as if to intentionally hide his superior bone structure. I suddenly remembered my father mentioning that Kevin greatly resembled his late mother, who was so beautiful that she had been deceived into marriage. I didn't agree with my uncle's actions, but as the younger generation, it wasn't my place to comment. "Kevin," I called out. "Mem," he responded, "do you need something from me?" Kevin suddenly looked at me, his gaze almost accusing me of being a fraud. "Tutoring." I was taken aback and let out a forced laugh. After all, tutoring was just a casual excuse to placate Leo. My academic efforts were always half-hearted. Serious tutoring would nearly kill me. In the years after our marriage, whether intentionally or not, Leo had made me quite delicate. I couldn't recite the periodic table, but I was decent at drawing. Trying to bluff my way through, I smiled and said, "I'm a bit tired today, let's not do the tutoring. How about tomorrow?" Kevin didn't press the issue. He got up to return to his room but paused as he passed by me. Kevin always kept his emotions well hidden, so deep that you wouldn't notice unless you looked closely. He always kept people at a distance. Even his deep-seated emotions were well concealed, calm on the surface but turbulent beneath. In the middle of the night, I had a dream. In it, Leo was choking me while Faye, lying provocatively on my bed, said, "Jane, all your things are mine now." I laughed in despair, vowing revenge on Leo, and then, without hesitation, I jumped from the building. The sudden sensation of falling felt like an intense tug. The pain throughout my body was so severe that I rushed into the bathroom to vomit. I vomited until I was dizzy and looked at my disheveled reflection in the mirror. In this second chance at life, knowing the truth, I thought I would be driven to madness by revenge. But walking through that dream, I realized that being forever trapped by these emotions and terrible people was the real folly. Now, I just wanted nothing more to do with either of them. At 3 a.m., I took my pillow and knocked on Kevin's door. "Kevin, are you asleep?" A few minutes later, he opened the door, completely stiffening upon seeing me. He instinctively grabbed the door frame as I barged in, heading straight for his bed. "Jane?" he asked, his voice hoarse. The silence around us was so profound that I could clearly hear his heart pounding. "What are you doing?" he asked. "I'm scared," I said. Kevin stood there in the dark, at a loss. The situation looked bizarre. Just the day before I had saved him, and now here I was diving into his bed. Anyone who saw would think too much of it, but now in this lifetime, the only ones who can give me a sense of security are my dad and him. "Kevin, you said you would stand in front of me if something happened." Kevin's breathing intensified. "Get out." "I won't." I couldn't conveniently tell him what I was afraid of, so I just said I had a nightmare. "Really, Kevin?" It was terrifying. "I'm delicate and easy to push over. I definitely can't beat you. So don't be afraid I'll do anything bad at night." "Kevin, me? I'll just borrow your bed for a sleep. I promise I won't do anything to you." I took advantage of his distraction and dove straight into his blanket. Kevin's pillow and blanket were clean, prepared the day before yesterday. He had slept in them for 2 nights, and they were filled with his fresh scent, giving a full sense of security. In the middle of the night, Kevin watched me lying on his bed, unsure whether to step forward or retreat, a gloomy young man faced with an unreasonable sunny female rogue. Eventually, he seemed a bit helpless. "Jane." Kevin seemed to want to say something, then suppressed it and endured. Finally, he gave up struggling, his voice hoarse. "Then you sleep here. We still have class tomorrow. I'll go sleep elsewhere." "Don't go." I grabbed him. Kevin was completely helpless against me, his tone hiding an imperceptible indulgence and affection. "Then I'll sit at the foot of the bed and stay with you." "Kevin, don't leave after I fall asleep. I'm scared." His voice was low, clearly just humoring me. If I hadn't felt his whole body tensing, I might have believed him. Having commandeered his bed and making him sit and watch me sleep, how could I have the face to do that? I whispered, "You come up and sleep too." Kevin's breathing immediately grew heavy. "Jane, do you know what you're saying?" "I know," we're both 18, I'm not an ignorant teenager, but if I had lived half a lifetime and started all over again, I wouldn't care about these details, it would be truly pointless. Kevin's bed was too warm, and after a night of shock, I had no patience left. I reached out and pulled him over. Kevin, caught off guard by my sudden pull, fell next to me. The moon's silver light poured in through the window, just right on Kevin's nose, his eyes, bright and deep as pools. I saw it, and my heartbeat slowed for a moment. Later, I unknowingly really fell asleep. In a daze, I felt Kevin get up and stubbornly sit by the bed, watching over me all night. In this life, although I grew up in a single-parent family, my dad treated me like a treasure. Even Kevin, whom I hadn't much interacted with in my previous life, was also carefully protecting me. The way he stayed with me was like he was guarding a pearl in his palm. Going downstairs for breakfast, I walked ahead, Kevin followed behind. When Dad saw us together and harmonious, he chuckled. Then Kevin, with dark circles under his eyes, his smile turned strange. "Daughter," he said with a meaningful tone, probably wondering if I was bullying Kevin again. I cut him off before he could tease me and got straight to the point. "Dad, I remember asking you for some money a while ago. Yes, you wanted me to sponsor 2 students under the company's name. In my past life, I had my dad sponsor Faye and Leo anonymously through an out-of-town branch to protect their pride, making sure it was done subtly so no one would notice. Then, my dad used the money to set up an award. It was essentially done behind closed doors. And Faye and Leo ended up receiving the award. Later on, when Faye couldn't get into university, she used this award and a connection to one of my uncles to secure a special admission spot at University A. Thinking about it, Faye owes her prestigious degree to this good deed I orchestrated without their knowledge." I asked my dad, "How is it progressing now?" He replied cheerfully, "I've already had someone connect with the 2 students, and the award is decided. We just need to transfer the money now." My dad asked, "Why, does my Jane have other plans?" Thinking back to my past life, where my dad never knew how he died, I coldly smiled. "Dad, don't send it." My dad was a bit confused. I told him that after thinking it over last night, it would be better to donate the money. The works of these 2 students don't deserve such a high award amount. 20,000 each. There are definitely others who need this money more, like people who are sick. Let's use it to help cure and save lives. My dad pondered for a moment. Indeed, my mom had died from an illness, and these words hit a soft spot for him. He said, "Both students' parents are alive and well, which really doesn't meet my criteria for sponsorship. It was only because you wanted to help them, Jane, that I agreed." I felt a little pained. The love my dad had for me was always unconditional, but some people always try to exploit this unconditional love. By the time I got to school, Faye had already received the notification that the award was cancelled. The judging panel added a final review round, and she was eliminated. She looked at me with eyes full of grievance. Jane, she had always known that the award was just an excuse for my family to give her money. She just pretended not to know. Now she couldn't pretend anymore. She slipped up and approached me about it. I was eliminated. I played dumb. Eliminated from what? The National High School Scientific Research Competition. I have to say, my dad chose a really impressive name. I suppressed my disgust, patted her shoulder, and said, "It's okay, Faye, there's always next time. Let's keep trying." Faye said, "You know, my dad's a gambler, and my mom works odd jobs to pay off his debts. Recently, my dad racked up more debt." I told them I had won the award in advance. They promised the debt collectors to pay by the end of this month. Faye turned pale, seemingly realizing something. "Jane, if we can't pay, my family is done for." "Oh, what should we do?" I said worriedly. "I really want to help you, but I spent too much money last month, and my dad got mad. He just froze all my cards yesterday. By the way, do you have any money? Can you lend me some?" She looked at me, utterly incredulous. I was clearly embarrassed as I confessed, "I really don't have any money left to spend. You know I'm not good at managing my finances. I gave you 3,000 just last week. You're usually quite frugal. You must have some left. Can you give it back to me?" "Jane, I'm sorry. I gave the money to my parents. I don't have any left to return to you." "Oh, it's okay, no worries. Just remember to pay me back when you have the money, okay? We're best friends after all." After that conversation, Faye never dared to bring up the topic of money with me again, fearing I might ask her to repay me. Unable to get money from me, she had no choice but to turn to Leo for help. Sure enough, I soon saw Faye sneaking out. Desperate, she started visiting Leo more frequently, no longer caring about keeping her distance. One day, after class, Faye hurriedly said she had to leave. In reality, she was going to confront Leo in his classroom. That week, Leo was unusually silent, seemingly pondering why things were different in this life. His behavior resulted in him neglecting Faye. Thinking he was hesitating, Faye rushed to his classroom. Finding it empty, she confronted him with teary eyes. "Leo, I know you don't like Jane, you think she's too delicate and carefree, but we can't wait any longer. If my dad doesn't pay off this debt, they're going to take me away to settle it. We grew up together. And I gave you my first time, for a better life for you. I even started hanging out with Jane. Do you know what everyone says? They laugh at me for being Jane's lapdog. Don't I deserve some dignity? Who am I making these sacrifices for? If you don't like her, can't you be with her for my sake?" After her outburst, Faye noticed Leo's hand freeze as he held his pen. "I like her." What? I said, "I like her." Faye thought she had misheard and screamed hysterically. "Ah, what are you saying? Leo, what are you really saying?" With a hoarse voice and a bitter smile, Leo said, "Exactly what you heard, Faye. Do you know why I haven't been looking for you this week? I was questioning what this relationship really means. I had initially followed them to see how their lives would unfold, but instead, I heard Leo's confession. In an instant, my heart felt an indescribable sadness. What's the point? I'm already dead, everything has restarted, and yet he says he likes me. If he liked me, why didn't he cherish what we had? If he liked me, why did he let Faye get pregnant, transferring assets, divorcing me? Is this his way of showing love? He's not the 18-year-old Leo anymore. He's the Leo who has been in a relationship with me for 8 years, the Leo who had a grand wedding with me, the closest intimacy we once shared. Now, he's confessing his feelings to the naive Faye, his love coming too late and almost laughably. Clearly driven mad by his words, Faye cried, "Leo, you're my boyfriend. How can you say you've fallen for Jane? She's my friend." Leo's eyes were cold as he replied, "And yet you wanted me to pursue your friend. That's different. Jane has everything, but all I have is you." Faye spoke with less conviction. "I just wanted you to help me take something from her, that's all." Sensing that Leo was upset, she approached to console him, putting on a pitiful face, and the scene grew increasingly risque. Faye tried every trick in the book to sway Leo. With her innocent looks and eyes that hesitated to speak, after all, Leo was a man, and he had deep feelings for Faye. I noticed a gradual change in Leo's eyes. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, it was too funny. I turned to leave but accidentally stepped on some trash around the corner, making a noise. "Who would leave an empty yogurt bottle here? Who's there?" Leo asked. At the critical moment, a pair of hands grabbed me from behind. As Leo and Faye were fixing their clothes and running out, Kevin pulled me by the hand towards the rooftop. Kevin and I hurried up the stairs, his grip firm on my hand. The warmth from his palm spread to me, and my heart fluctuated until the wind by my ear reminded me of what was happening. "Was it you guys?" Leo had caught up. They opened the metal door we were pushing against. At that moment, Kevin's dark eyes looked at me, filled with tumultuous emotions. I didn't know how much he had heard. Whether he also heard Faye plotting against me. As I quickly racked my brain, Kevin reached out and hugged me. He shifted my position slightly to shield me thoroughly. Leo had reached the rooftop, followed by a panting Faye. Leo frowned, looking at Kevin. "Were you eavesdropping on us just now?" Kevin remained still, causing Leo to grow suspicious and decide to confront the issue. Playing tricks in the classroom was bad for both him and Faye. It was clear he was doing this for Faye. When Leo recognized it was Kevin, he paused. He had also spotted me. "Leo," his voice hoarse, said, "Jane." At that moment, I tugged at Kevin, who then turned to look at Leo with a fierce expression and hugged me tightly. Leo suddenly became enraged. "Let go. What are you doing to her?" Kevin retorted. "Can't you see?" Faye interjected. "Jane, you and Kevin." I covered my face, hesitating, then said, "Well, we've been on the rooftop for half an hour, busy with serious stuff." I countered. "Hey, how come you two are together? You know each other." Faye turned pale. "No, I don't know him." My best friend obviously had a guilty conscience. She dared not probe further and gave Leo a worried glance. Leo clenched his fists tightly. "Leo told me, Jane. The school doesn't allow dating at an early age." I burst out laughing. "My fellow student, why do you all have so much drama? I was just asking him for a loan." My words echoed what I had told Faye that morning. In the silence, Faye breathed a sigh of relief. After Leo and Faye left, Kevin still hadn't let go of my hand. Only when I gently withdrew my hand did he say, "Jane." "Yes," I responded. "Did I just protect you again?" The following week, two major events occurred. One was that Faye and Leo lost the scholarship, and both families couldn't repay their debts, resulting in their homes being vandalized. Faye was nearly molested. She had fought desperately to protect herself. Leo, on the other hand, took a beating to protect his mom. The two of them grew up together, childhood sweethearts, both their fathers gamblers. A similar family background forged their deep bond through shared hardships. No wonder Faye, over all these years, never worried about Leo falling for someone else when she saw him with me. She was confident that she was Leo's true love, and I was just a pawn for Leo to achieve his goals. At the same time, another incident occurred. Kevin was being bullied again. As my relationship with Kevin had been getting closer, Leo, behind the scenes, fueled the situation, leading the school bullies to corner Kevin in an alley. They taunted Kevin, calling him a toad lusting after a swan because he was always around me, and ridiculed him by asking, "What can you offer Jane?" During this period, Samuel, who had become familiar with Kevin and me due to driving us regularly, grew closer to Kevin. Kevin was reserved but polite. He didn't look down on Samuel for being a driver, so Samuel showed him special regard. On the day Kevin ran into trouble, I happened to be home with a severe cold. Kevin was on his own, and it was Samuel who helped him out. Samuel also discreetly informed me about the incident. Before I had a chance to check on Kevin, he came knocking on my door. Under his eyes were bruises. He touched my forehead first to make sure my fever had gone down, then said, "Jane, I need to borrow some money." "For what?" "To start a business." Kevin wanted to start a business. It seemed like life was really starting to change. I lent Kevin all the pocket money I had saved over the years. In my past life, I had lent this money to Leo for his college education. He never paid me back, and after we got married, it was forgotten as we became family. This time, I decided to invest directly in Kevin, let Leo fend for himself. With over a year left before Kevin's untimely death, I hoped to change the outcome of his life. As the college entrance exam approached, Faye and Leo were both sprinting to the finish, but Kevin, despite his good grades, was distracted by his business. I didn't know what he was planning until the night before the exam, on May 19th. When Kevin asked me out for a late-night snack, I chose a light yellow dress and styled my hair in a princess updo. At the night market with Kevin, 6 handsome guys lined up and greeted me cheerfully, shouting "sister-in-law." Kevin walked over and gently slapped the leader's shoulder to quiet them. This gesture only made them more excited, jokingly saying, "Brother Kevin, protecting your own, huh?" Kevin replied, "Stop messing around." Right, we won't mess around, sister-in-law." Brother Kevin told us not to. That's when I learned that Kevin had used the money to start an esports gaming company. The 6 boys in front of me were the first professional players Kevin had signed. While we were having our snack, I went to the restroom and passed by the back of a supermarket where I unexpectedly saw Leo. At a time when he should have been home studying for the exams, Leo was working a job, moving goods, wearing a worn tank top, drenched in sweat. He was energetically loading crates of beer onto his shoulders, his arms flexed with the effort, veins standing out on his neck. Seeing me, he paused. I stood motionless, and so did he. It wasn't until a coworker called out to him, "Leo," that Leo finally shifted his gaze and continued moving items in brooding silence. Since our last encounter, he hadn't come to see me again. He hadn't followed through on Faye's suggestion to woo me in order to access my family's wealth. Instead, Leo had chosen to diligently work and study, taking a more honorable path. After moving several boxes, Leo continued with other items. Accidentally, he scraped his arm, leaving a long streak of blood. Once he finished, his boss paid him 80 yuan. Suddenly Kevin appeared behind me. "Jane." I didn't hear him the first time, so he called out again, "Jane." I turned around. He must have come looking for me because I had been outside for quite a while over the past few months. He had helped me a lot, tutoring me and occasionally sharing some of Dad's workload as a way of repaying us for his stay at our home. I had long since asked him to call me by my nickname, but it was the first time he actually called me Jane tonight. Caught off guard, I didn't respond immediately. Following my gaze, his eyes landed on Leo, who was signing for his pay. Kevin asked me, "Does it hurt to see that?" I shook my head. This is how it should be. His family isn't well off. Striving for independence is the right path. Everyone should be responsible for their own lives. Those who abandon their moral foundation are truly despicable. This time around, Leo is starting to resemble a real man. Later at the night food stall, a guy with curly hair from our esports team ordered some beer. Caught up in the excitement, I had a little too. Kevin and I were tipsy by the time we got home, and instead of going to our separate rooms, we stood side by side on the balcony chatting and watching the stars. I asked him, Kevin, do you prefer the stars or the moon? He replied, the moon. Curious, I asked, why? Kevin hesitated for a moment, then looking at me intently, and just when I thought he wouldn't answer, he said softly, because I have my own moonlight to protect. I was profoundly moved. Before, I was put off by his gloominess and didn't like his solitude, but having been reborn, I came to understand it was just his way of protecting himself. No one willingly rejects kindness or wants to walk alone in the dark, it's just that in his past life, no one had ever loved him. Fortunately, in this life, Kevin got a second chance. After Dad took him in, Uncle breathed a sigh of relief, and Kevin accepted our family's kindness. Over the months, he learned to open his heart, treating me and my dad with great care, each small act of consideration precious in its detail. Kevin's goodness was visible to all of us. What mattered even more was seeing his efforts. He worked tirelessly to stand by my side, starting his business, even sacrificing sleep to help me with notes, organizing my wrong answers, and writing out solutions step by step. He was always there when I needed him, forever my protector. I once thought affection was intense, like Leo's romantic confessions to me, but after experiencing life with Kevin, I realized that true affection is the detailed concern for another. It's an unprincipled favoritism. Everyone might look down on him, even he looks down on himself, feeling sullied, yet, for me, he's willing to wrestle with the world, striving to become cleaner. That night, Kevin and I watched the moon side by side. Neither of us spoke about our worries, but I had seen clearly into my own heart and figured some things out. In this lifetime, I must not let one setback stop me. I need to move on from Leo and Faye and truly live as myself. Before I could start living as myself, on May 20th, Leo cornered me. He handed me a box with a designer logo. What's this? A gift for May 20th. Ah, I can't accept this. We're hardly close, Leo insisted, pushing the gift towards me, a clear obsession in his eyes. Perhaps he remembered the significance of the day, or maybe he was trying, in his own way, to win me back. But he was quite persistent. May 20th used to be our wedding anniversary. That day, we went to get our marriage certificate, but he received a phone call midway. He grudgingly finished the process and then left immediately. Back then, I was too naive, utterly blinded by love, failing to see the truth. Leo said, please take it. I bought it with my own money. I looked at him, unsure of what to say. Previously, he hardly ever spent his own money on me. Indeed, the wealth he had was built by my father's lifelong hard work. He looked at me expectantly, but after my repeated refusals, he finally grew impatient. Leo frowned. Jane, stop being stubborn. Me, stubborn? Oh, you're Leo, right? I laughed. I've heard about your family from Faye. Your mother is currently in hospital undergoing dialysis. With your family in such a situation, you still think of buying me this? I won't accept it. Leo looked dazed, standing alone, after parting ways with Leo. I also distanced myself from Faye, unable to get money from me. Faye turned and joined another clique. Several times, while chatting with other girls, she subtly mentioned me, leading others to misunderstand me. There was a girl in class who was adept at calling out hypocrisy, and she finally couldn't resist retorting, Faye, enough. Jane was so good to you, and yet you backstab her with such snide remarks. Are you made of tea, so green? Faye's face alternated between pale and flushed. Completely losing her popularity, she wanted others to isolate me, but it backfired on her. A week before the college entrance exams, the classmates completely ignored her. Holding a grudge, she ended up reaping the consequences of her actions, performing disastrously and not even meeting the minimum passing score. Faye didn't get into college. Leo maintained his usual scores. Kevin ranked among the top 3 in our city. My scores also improved significantly, happily choosing University A. On the day of university registration, I saw Leo and Kevin at the University A campus. Without hesitation, I stood next to Kevin. Time flies, and before I knew it, it was already our second year in college. Kevin's entrepreneurial venture coincided with the golden age of esports, earning him a considerable fortune. In his life, he achieved great success and would never again be bullied to death. As for me, I began living a carefree life, occasionally teasing Kevin. After more than a year of hesitation, I finally asked him the question that had been troubling me. Kevin, he had become much more composed over the year and looked at me puzzledly. What exactly is 130924? Kevin's eyes widened, and after a moment, he asked with a flushed face, Jane, who told you about these numbers? I waved my hand. Just tell me first, then I'll answer you. No matter how much I pressed, Kevin wouldn't divulge anything. Our relationship was more than ambiguous but not quite that of lovers. Eventually, even my roommate couldn't stand it anymore. Jane, when are you and Kevin going to finally clear the air? It's like something out of a soap opera. Our class is organizing a camping trip in a few days. It's overnight, and families can come too. Why don't you bring Kevin along? My roommate suggested encouragingly. No rush. What do you mean, no rush? Kevin has clearly been waiting for you to make a move. Why doesn't our Jane take the initiative this time? Chuckling, I replied, alright, since everyone seems to agree, I'll invite him to the camping trip. On the day of the camping trip, more than 20 people from our class came. Some brought friends, others brought girlfriends, and in total, 40 people took 2 minibuses up the mountain. We booked several cabins in the woods and a dozen stargazing tents. Kevin stayed by my side, helping me with my luggage and choosing a cabin. Unexpectedly, Leo, a brother of one of our classmates, also joined the camping trip. I was slightly surprised when I first saw Leo, but then I just ignored him. Suddenly, at the campsite supply area, I saw a familiar face. What's wrong? Kevin asked me. I think I saw Faye. I blinked, and she was gone. Faye hadn't gotten into university and had entered the workforce early. It must have been someone else. At night, while I was alone in the cabin, I suddenly smelled something strange and lost consciousness before I could react. In the middle of the night, fire, a massive fire. I was awakened by the heat wave, and for a moment, I couldn't tell whether I was dreaming or awake. The smoke was suffocating, and I started to hallucinate. It seemed as though I was back in the past, with Leo, still my boyfriend, accompanying me and Faye at the class event. During that camping trip, Faye and I shared a cabin, and we also experienced a fire. I suddenly clutched my head in agony. It hurt so much, and I seemed to see Kevin rushing in to save me. Jane, I had been drugged and couldn't move. Experiences from 2 lifetimes, reality, and hallucinations intertwined. In the hallucination, it was also Kevin who rushed in to save me. Back then, my cabin was located remotely. Wildfires were common in the area. When everyone noticed the fire, not only my cabin but also the surrounding woods were ablaze. In my previous life, Kevin happened to be at the same campsite. He saved me, but didn't make it out himself. In the end, he entrusted me to Leo, asking him to carry me out. In the end, he was completely engulfed by the inferno. Later, everyone said he died from bullying. Even I believed it was so. But that wasn't the case. In his previous life, Kevin died rushing into the flames to save me. My mind was hazy, watching the flames gradually engulf the roof, and more memories surfaced. The year Kevin died, I lost my memory due to the fire. That wildfire caused 1 death and 2 injuries. Kevin passed away, and Leo and I were injured. Since Leo was the one who carried me out of the fire, everyone believed he saved me. Because of this, my father completely changed his attitude towards Leo and began to approve of my relationship with him. Later on, when my father handed the company over to Leo, he never really thought about the implications. Since I suffered from traumatic amnesia, my father, out of pity, didn't let anyone discuss the incident with me, pretending it never happened, saying it was enough for me to recover physically. Leo, on the other hand, took credit for something he didn't do. He merely carried me out at the end, and now with all the benefits he has gained, he is the most afraid of me remembering the truth, so he never mentions it either. Under everyone's guise of looking out for me, I truly forgot about the incident. In that devastating fire, only Kevin, nameless and unacknowledged, perished silently in the flames, unnoticed by anyone. When the fire spread to my feet, I finally remembered everything. Just at the crucial moment, the locked door was kicked open, and Kevin rushed in. Jane, why are you here? I cried. I'm going to get you out. Kevin tried to help me up but found I was completely weak. He carried me horizontally, and a burning beam fell, striking his leg. He winced in pain, sweat forming on his forehead. I nestled in Kevin's arms, eyes red as I looked at him. So foolish. In this life and the last, he was always so foolish. In this life, it wasn't about me redeeming Kevin, it was clearly him saving me. Because I mentioned seeing Faye during the day, Kevin was extra cautious, arriving earlier than in his past life. Before the fire had spread too far, he was still in time to save me. This time, things were finally different. Emerging from the thick smoke and fierce flames, my senses slowly cleared, and I finally heard the heart-wrenching cries of the students around me. The fire, quick, put it out, call 119. There's a fire in the mountains. Amidst the chaos, I saw Leo, pale-faced, running against the crowd toward the center of the fire. He was shouting my name, first Jane, then the long-missed, dearly familiar wife. Leo was in a sorry state, staring fixedly at the vast inferno. He wanted to rush in, others urged him to stay calm. Just as he was about to enter to save me, I called out his name. I had inhaled too much smoke, my voice ruined, and he couldn't hear me. Kevin helped me call out, Leo. Then Leo looked my way. The first thing he saw was me in Kevin's arms. In that glance, a lifetime passed. Leo clenched his fists, his eyes filled with intense emotions. Too late, it was simply too late. Even if heaven gave him another chance to start over, what then? Can he grasp it? Ever since he chose Faye in his previous life, our relationship was destined to drift apart. Though lifespans may be long, the hurts inflicted by those closest to us cut deep like bone-exposing knife wounds, leaving scars that never fade. The best way to preserve love is to remain consistent. Do not harm the one you deeply love, nor should you test human nature, as it cannot withstand such trials. Any clear-headed girl would choose not to look back. Leo opened his mouth to speak, but his voice seemed stuck in his throat, unable to make a sound. Finally, he laughed, louder and louder, as if mocking himself. Leo, those around him looked on with concern. Leo said, "It's okay." Then, he turned and walked away. This fire was timely discovered, and thankfully, there were no casualties. Learning that Kevin had broken his leg trying to save me, my father personally visited him at the hospital. I shared with my dad some odd details about the day of the fire. He assured me, "Jane, I will resolve this for you." In my previous life, because Faye was also a student at University A and was close to me, I never guarded against her. This allowed her to stealthily do certain things unnoticed. This time, her bizarre presence at the scene, coupled with a strong motive, made her a prime suspect. The investigation quickly honed in on her, and soon, traces of arson were found at the scene. Faye was just a step away from prison. Dad told us to wait for good news, determined to catch the person who harmed his daughter. At that moment, Leo turned himself in. Leo was tried and sentenced, and before serving his sentence, he requested to see me one last time. I went. Leo said, "Jane, I didn't start the fire." "I know," I replied. Later, reflecting on the arson, I thought about both my past and present lives. It seems in the past life, the fire was a scheme by Faye and Leo to gain favor because my dad disapproved of Leo and didn't think he could take care of me. Faye drugged me and set the fire, planning for Leo to rescue me. However, they didn't anticipate Kevin arriving sooner, with Leo only managing to get me out at the last moment. In this life, harboring resentment, Faye decided to take a risky step to retaliate against me. This time, Leo was unaware and thus late. He couldn't have anticipated the fire without his involvement. Upon realizing that I had finally met the person who truly saved me, Leo knew he had lost even the last opportunity in this life. He told me, "I'm in prison because of you. It wasn't you who set the fire, but why imprison yourself on your own accord? What does that have to do with me?" Leo, with a weary face shadowed by stubble, said, "Jane, you came back too, didn't you?" Pretending not to understand, I watched Leo force a laugh. "Whether you come back or not, I've lost you in this life. But Jane, I've never told you directly, I love you. I was foolish not to value what I had when I had it, and now I deeply regret losing it. You loved me so earnestly, from our naive beginnings to maturity, dedicating half of your life to me, yet, I failed you. I didn't deserve you. I've been thinking over these past 2 years, wondering if things would have been different had I not made those mistakes. Jane, could we have been truly happy?" He chuckled. "A loving wife by my side, financial wealth, many men dream of such a life, yet I was blind to it all, placing my pride above everything else. Jane, you know what I hate most, being labeled a phoenix man, as if I, Leo, only succeeded because of my father-in-law. What about my efforts? Who sees my sacrifices? You shined so brightly that you overshadowed me. That's why I had to hold on to that money, to truly feel like a respectable man." Leo, with Faye by my side, Leo bowed his head, his eyes reddening. "But if I could do it all over, I'd realize how wrong I was. I had fallen in love with you during those 8 years, always dreading your tears, your pain, your unhappiness. Even a frown from you would break my heart. Sadly, I understood these feelings too late. Jane, me being in prison now is my retribution, my way of repaying you. Leo said he made too many mistakes in his past life, unsure how to make amends. He left it at that. When I got out of detention, it coincided with a family dinner organized by my father. Regardless, this matter has finally settled. It was called a family dinner, but there were only 3 of us at the table, me, my father, and Kevin. Kevin sat there, smiling at me. I felt embarrassed under his gaze and pretended to drink water. Then my father looked at Kevin, then at me, and burst out laughing at the dinner table. You two are like 2 full maggots with nothing better to do, wriggling about. Why don't you 2 take a walk outside? I was shocked at how my father described his own daughter. Dad, my father pulled me up. Go on, go. Our yard is huge. And my father hires someone to tend to the plants. Kevin has lived here for almost half a year. Over these 2 years, we both know this yard well. Was there really a need to take a special walk? Kevin smiled and said, let's go. Encouraged by my father, Kevin and I stood under the jacaranda tree in the yard, chatting. Kevin looked down and told me about a dream he had on the night of the fire. In the dream, he saved me and then passed away, exhausted and closing his eyes in the fire. He made a wish in his heart. I hope my moon is happy for life. If the moon isn't happy, I want to bring her happiness, Kevin said, and then the moment he opened his eyes, he saw the first rays of morning light, the sunlight piercing through his palm, as if he had gained a lifetime out of thin air. Jane, have you always wanted to know what 130,924 means? Come closer, and I'll tell you. I tiptoed closer, and Kevin kissed me. He said, Jane, it's the combination of our birthdays. This was the bank password he had used for 2 lifetimes. It was also his unspoken, enduring love, spin-off of Kevin 22. I dreamed of my entire life. I was an illegitimate child. My mother met my father when she was 19. At first, she was unaware, thinking she had found true love, but later she realized that the man she loved most had deceived her, turning her into the vilified other woman. If she had stopped then, it wouldn't have been shameful. But she chose to forgive my dad and continue the relationship. Did she ever realize that by choosing to continue, she became the active homewrecker? My father's wife detested my existence because every day I lived was a reminder to her of her husband's betrayal. Even I felt filthy about my own origins. So, I tolerated the bullying at school. I didn't want to fight back, nor did I bother to. The only person in the family who was kind to me was my older brother, who always said, "This is the adult's fault, it has nothing to do with us." He would give me pocket money, and when I was punished and not allowed to eat, he would bring me food. But one day, my brother died because of me. He took me out to relax, but we encountered a car accident. A speeding truck came hurtling towards us, and he pushed me away, only to be crushed under its wheels. The person who was just chatting and laughing with me a minute ago was cut in half right before my eyes. Sometimes I think it would be just as well if those bullies killed me. Someone as tainted as me doesn't deserve to live. Until that day, the girl I'd been thinking about came to rescue me. I asked her, "Aren't you afraid I'll cling to you if you help me like this?" What did she say? I can't remember her words. All I know is, my moon was shining, though she didn't know it. She truly illuminated my darkest days. That day, someone stopped me and asked what I could offer her. I thought, I could give her my life. My entire existence. So, afterwards, I worked hard to start a business and grew relentlessly, staying by her side. Before, after, throughout my life, my heart held tender affection. Spin-off of Leo 23. After I got out of prison, I saw the VCR of Kevin and Jane's wedding from years ago. In a sea of flowers, Jane was treasured and protected by Kevin, his gaze devoid of any distractions. Yet, the person who once stood in that sea of flowers and kissed her was me. The person who once held her as they fell asleep at night was also me. I couldn't help but go to the home Jane and Kevin had made after their marriage. I stood in the corner, watching the now sophisticated Kevin, a stark contrast to me. Jane and he had a daughter, a lovely little girl. After they got out of the car, Kevin went to hold her hand, then picked up their daughter, letting her ride on his neck. They looked blissfully happy. I inadvertently made a noise, and Jane looked up. She saw me. She paused for a moment, but it was just that, a brief moment. And then she turned her head to look elsewhere. Her gaze was indifferent, not needing any reconciliation, as she seemed to treat me as if I were merely air. I left in a daze. Passing by a supermarket, I entered and bought a pack of cigarettes. After taking a couple of puffs, I decided to go see Faye. However, as I stood beneath Faye's apartment building and saw her clinging to a man in his 50s, a wave of nausea hit me. Faye was leaning against the man's beer belly, and he responded by slyly nudging her waist, both sleazy and suggestive. Faye looked uncomfortable when she saw me, fresh out of prison. After the old man left, she told me, "Leo, I don't have any money for you, stop coming around." Her indifference towards me was apparent. I scoffed coldly, which infuriated Faye. She snapped at me, "What are you laughing at? You think you're better than me. I don't need you or Jane. I'm getting by just fine with other men." Suddenly, I was reminded of my 18-year-old self, laboriously working to buy gifts for Jane. Back then, despite the hardships, I never bowed down or thought of asking Jane for a single penny. But now, Faye was stooping low, devoid of morals, ready to wreck homes for money. Looking at Faye, her face no longer innocent but marked by hardship, I found her repugnant. I regretted my past deeply, wishing she were dead. "I can't believe I destroyed my family over someone like you." Faye's dream, I often wonder. If I weren't so greedy, would my life be better? I had a wealthy friend who was generous and sincere with me, but I ruined it myself. After Leo went to prison for me, I was terrified he'd turn me in, wishing he was out of my life. I also couldn't dare to get close to Jane again, fearing she'd discover my actions. I didn't want to end up in prison. Previously, I was used to a life of luxury with Jane, wearing clothes that cost thousands. The money I earned was hardly enough to cover my expenses. Fortunately, I was attractive, exactly the type of innocent yet appealing look that big bosses love. Leo had been deceived by my face. I cried and begged him to save me, and he agreed to take my place in prison. However, when he agreed, he was staring off into space, perhaps thinking of someone else, but that didn't matter to me. As long as I could get away with my wrongdoings without consequence, that was enough. After Leo went to prison, losing Jane as a friend, I had to find my own way to thrive. I hooked up with a man in his 50s, who had a beer belly and body odor but was generous with money, which I tolerated. He was unfaithful, though, and had other women. I figured getting pregnant might secure my position. 5 months into the pregnancy, I was unlucky enough to be discovered by his wife, who came and beat me up. I ended up with 2 broken bones, a lost child, and spent half a month in the hospital. I told him through tears that the doctors said I couldn't get pregnant again. He then blocked me and cut off all relations, saying he wanted to return to his family. I returned home in a daze, only to find that my family just wanted money from me and didn't welcome me. Suddenly, I thought of Leo, the only person who had truly cared for me. Yet, the last time he came to see me after getting out of prison, I let him down. I wonder if he will ever forgive me. That day, I had a dream. In it, Leo held my hand and dreamed about our future together. He said, "Faye, let's work hard for the college entrance exam. I will give you a good future." In the dream, I was shy and timid, mentioning that I wanted to dine in the finest restaurants and wear beautiful dresses. I also dreamed of having many children. I even dreamed about Jane. It was a fragmented dream filled only with the kindness she showed me. She was wealthy and took care of my pride, like a warm little son. Suddenly, I woke up, gasping for air, sitting on the bed. I was frightened by this warm dream, the reality being that I had lost everything due to my own actions. If I hadn't been so excessive back then, trying to steal my best friend's fortune through a man, could I have lived a better life? I was too greedy. Insatiable greed leads to loss of everything. Just as I was dressing up, wearing a white dress and planning to find Leo, the doorbell rang. 2 police officers stood at the door, stating that someone had reported me for having someone else serve my prison sentence, a serious violation of the law, and they asked for my cooperation in reopening the investigation of the case. My biggest fear had come true. I hysterically asked, "Is it Leo? Was it him? He's crazy." I had already decided to go back to him. Why is he still treating me this way? He must be doing this because he loves me too much. He loves me, so he wants to destroy me. I begged the police to let me go, claiming I did nothing wrong. That Leo was acting out of love turned to hatred, unable to bear seeing me doing well now. I loudly questioned why he was still out to harm me. Didn't he know I was terrified of going to jail? This matter was supposed to have ended. Why? As I was brought into the interrogation room, I passed by Leo, who gave me a cold look, as if to say, "Ended." This is just the beginning. Leo's dream. After being released from prison, I turned myself in again. This time I voluntarily confessed my crimes to the authorities, the real crimes. I had helped a criminal hide or provided false evidence to help them evade legal prosecution. Faye was sentenced, and I was also imprisoned again for 3 years for abetting the crime. This woman who ruined my family could not escape justice. In prison, looking up at the high walls unmarred by barbed wire, I suddenly felt like laughing. This was good, the world was back on track. I just wonder if the next time I close my eyes, I could return to the past. Lately, I'd been suffering from insomnia, haunted by memories of Jane at 18, the year we fell in love. She held my hand and took me to see fireflies. In the tall grass under the starry sky, fireflies twinkled. Back then, I didn't appreciate it, thinking all these were trivial. Now I realize, being cherished all her life. Her perception of the world was beyond the material. These were the treasures of her heart. She had laid open her softest side to me, yet I found it dull. What I considered romantic was nothing more than an extra egg on my breakfast noodles. In the quiet of the night, I'm reminded of the beautiful moment when I placed the ring on Jane's finger at our wedding. How wonderful it was when we first embraced each other in bed. A kind and gentle wife. A reasonable family. They never looked down on me for my poor background. They supported my entrepreneurial endeavors, and she trusted and relied on me unconditionally. In fact, what I received from Jane far exceeded the satisfaction that Faye brought me. I wonder, what does it mean to be a man? To love your wife, to love your family, that is what it means to be a real man. What kind of man empties his family's wealth to support a shameless woman? That night, I had a dream. In the dream, I returned to the old world where Jane had passed away, and I stood alone in our empty home. Memories flooded in. I had arranged Jane's funeral here and deeply regretted my past actions. I never thought I would cause her death. What I did was truly despicable, making her feel that the world was no longer worth staying in. Jane, what am I supposed to do without you? Faye eventually lost the baby as well. The prenatal examination suspected hemolytic disease. Our blood types were incompatible, meaning Faye and I could never have children. Even if born, the child would not survive long. Faye began desperately demanding money from me, pressuring me to marry her. I didn't want to, and seeing right through me, Faye screamed hysterically, "Leo, that bitch Jane is dead. You only have me now. I carried a child for you. I suffered for you. You must marry me in this lifetime." I snapped and grabbed her by the throat. "What did you say? Say it again." I said, "She is dead." Cough cough. Blinded by rage, I shouted, "Faye, my wife will only ever be Jane, not you. You're just a homewrecker. What do you think you are?" I tore away the facade of a cultured elite. In that moment I was like a raging beast. At night, he would massage me, hold me in the morning, and always give a kiss goodbye before leaving. The colors in the dream rapidly faded, countless points of light merged into one, and all those scenes of argument turned into nothingness. Only the echoes of our quarrels lingered in the air. I heard faint and firm voices, Faye saying, "You fell in love with someone else, made it real. I curse you to never have a good death." I heard myself in that world saying, "I did wrong, and now my life is worse than death." I saw the years pass by. I aged prematurely, barely 50, already frail, childless. I donated all my assets, naming it Jane's Hope Fund, wanting everyone to remember her, remember that cute and warm girl who, in my youth, always looked at me with shining eyes under the starry sky. In that world, I jumped from a high building, overwhelmed with pain and regret. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself gasping for breath on the edge of the bed. Awakened from this nightmare, a fellow inmate called my name, saying it was time to gather. I sighed, walked to the yard, and looked up at the sky. I knew that in this lifetime, I was destined to be in hell.